Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Just adjusting the camera there slightly. So this is a reading for Sagittarius. It's quite an interesting one. Yeah, let's just get into it. So it's Sagittarius energy. It's story time reading, which means it's kind of, they're a bit more collective rather than personal. So there may be bits and bobs in there for you personally if you are a Sagittarius. But overall, it's like general topics that may be in the collective consciousness, things that maybe people may be thinking about because of things that are in the news or things like that, and how Sagittarius may be affected or thinking about those topics. So you definitely have an interesting reading. I should say as well, the readings kind of talk to each other quite a lot. There's like communication that happens between readings, so definitely check out your other placements, or if anything particularly stands out and I mention another sign, you may want to check that reading out as well. So yeah, it was really interesting actually. I felt like I wasn't getting anything for you. I don't know if there's a message here about trusting your intuition. You know, if you're receiving visuals or messages, you know, actually pay attention to them and trust them because they will turn out to be something. But you felt quite quiet. I didn't feel like I was getting much through. I got a couple of things, but I wasn't really sure. I kind of dismissed them. This is the thing. I was a little bit dismissive. So the first thing that I saw was it was kind of like my whole vision was filled with red, and it was these stringy things, so it reminded me a little bit of like strawberry laces, if you know the strawberry laces, a bit like licorice kind of sweets, and or maybe like roots, like sometimes you can get red roots, right, of certain vegetables and trees, or yeah, or like string or something like this, but it was like very red. And then I saw a horse chess piece, so it was like a horse's head, and again I kind of dismissed it because I was like, oh, it's Sagittarius, right, the archer who's like a centaur, right, you're associated with horses. I was like, so I'm channeling for Sagittarius and you show me a horse. It's like, it was a bit like, right, okay, yeah, sure, you know. And I made a note of it, but I kind of dismissed it. I thought maybe it means something about strategy, which is coming through in your reading. It's almost like, it feels like infiltrating something, or like infiltrating something to undermine it from within, or something like this, or like some kind of spy game or something. So it could just be things that people are watching. But yeah, like, so a horse chess piece, so you being a chess piece on this board and how you're moving, right, seems to be what's coming through there. So like game playing as well. I heard logistics, so I don't know if some of you work in logistics or there's something going on with like moving things around. And then this is the interesting thing to me. So I tried to see the color of the chess piece, and I was thinking to myself, I was kind of trying to remember this chess piece, and I was like, was it black or was it white? Because normally they are, right? And I was thinking, it feels like it was kind of an in-between color. It doesn't feel like it was white or black. It feels like it was like maybe metallic or something. And then I was thinking maybe it's something to do with like a horse sculpture. But again, I kind of, it came through not in a strong way, but I kind of puzzled over it a little bit. So then, though, and it all comes full circle, guys. So then I was shown a hologram pendant. Now, I don't know if you remember these. They were kind of around sort of very late 90s, circa 2000, maybe even earlier, actually. Could have been earlier. I remember holograms being a thing in like the late 80s as well. This. You would buy them though. They were kind of like pendant necklaces on like the black kind of string, and they'd be round like this, and they'd have like a hologram. It's like a lens, right? So it was like a piece of glass, and you can move it, and it'd have like an eye in it, or like a Pegasus in it, or like, I don't know, a you know, just something in that image. So very commonly you'd find them with eyes in. And the way it was shown to me, it was like over the moon. Now I don't want to get into too much kind of like tinfoil hat conspiracy theory stuff here, especially after Leo's reading, which was very out there. It was like I was shown the moon, and then like this pendant in front of it. So maybe this is like, I don't know, an arty image somebody's been doing or something like that. But then talking about like the visions that I've seen with like family, apparently there is a conspiracy theory that the moon is a hologram. I want to say I don't think I agree with that. I don't think that's necessarily true, but maybe that's something that you've been talking about, something that's coming up. I don't know. It could also be telling me something about, I don't know why I've got Leo energy from this. Oh, I think it's just because of Leo's reading. So there could be something about the moon. Maybe somebody has a Leo moon. I don't know why it's coming through as Leo. I don't know why I made that note, but it's there. I was kind of getting Tall, Dark, Sexy Mannix, which is a song from the musical Six, which I did watch last week. But you could be meeting a tall, dark, handsome stranger, perhaps. Maybe you've got a crush on somebody who's kind of like very brooding, you know, like dark and brooding, that kind of character. Maybe that's you. And they were showing me the guy from Jurassic Park. What's his name? I can't think what his name is. Jeff Goldblum. And you know, the one where he's in the car and he's like, let me pour water on your hand and we'll see which way it runs. It could be you, it could be somebody that you are associating with who has this kind of like brooding philosophical nature. Yeah, maybe a bit intense as well. So typically that would be like Scorpio, Pisces energy. Maybe it's those signs. I don't know. Apples. I don't know. I've got the note apples. I don't know. Right. And then I got into how does a hologram work? So my brain started puzzling. I was like, I need more information on this. How do you make a hologram? How does it actually like work in terms of like photography and physics and all that kind of stuff? So I ended up falling down this rabbit hole of like, how do holograms work? But I feel like it's a piece of information to fit in with the puzzle of the things that I've been getting recently. I get a lot of stuff in my readings about, again, I don't know if there's one of you watching, maybe one of you is a physicist. I do find it comes through for Capricorn quite a lot. I've got a suspicion that like one of my Capricorns has like a dad or an uncle who's like a physicist, like a physics teacher, or like they work for NASA or something, because it comes through for them a little bit more often. But again, like a lot of my and it could actually be that kind of like Aquarian alien kind of guide that I've got. I'm not saying that they're an alien, but maybe they're an alien. I kind of talked about it a little bit in Leo's reading. I've got one of my guides, one of my the energies that I pick up on has this kind of very Aquarian, kind of like starman quality to them. But yeah, this thing about like physics. So how do holograms work? I get a lot of stuff to do with like how light works and like how light bends, you know, like light and dark colors, you know, prisms, refraction of light and all this kind of stuff, crystals, LED screens. So the way you make a hologram, and I don't know why you need to know this, I don't know why I'm doing a physics lesson in your reading, but I found it interesting, and it seems to be a piece of information coming through for us in some sort of way. So you get a beam of light and you want to use a laser, ideally not a torch. And the reason for this, again, I'm just relaying the information that I've kind of looked up. It could mean something to you, it could not. I'm just gonna blurt it out. So if you shine a light from a torch, the actual light waves kind of go all wiggly wobbly. There's no consistency to how they move. And the website, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to kind of explainthatstuff.com, right? So apparently like the light waves that come from a torch, they're like children running up a corridor, right? They're very scattered, higgledy-piggledy. And if you get a laser beam, the reason why you want to use a laser is because the light that comes from a laser is very, very focused and uniform, right? And so this really helps you to make a good hologram. So why is someone making a hologram? I don't know. But they say that the light coming from a laser is like soldiers, right, marching up a corridor. They're uniform and consistent. So there was something as well in Leo's reading about this person who projects onto, either projecting up to speak to the man on the moon or projecting up to like speak to this alien on a spacecraft. It's very out there. Again, it could just be something somebody's watching, but they actually took the form of a hologram. So they could be something to do like projection of consciousness, and you know, a bit like FaceTiming, but actually as a hologram. It feels like, again, very Aquarian energy, talking about like advancements in technology. And Leo had this thing as well about it was like this high priestess of the woods, right? This protector of the earth, being asked by this kind of emperor energy to go and speak to, like, kind of as a representative of earth or something like this, to go and speak to this kind of alien-like visitor that was coming past. It was coming through as the Aquarius full moon. So again, you can go and watch that Leo reading if you want to. It was coming through this energy of like, as the moon comes past, as the moon is full, you know, the opportunity to go and speak to this kind of starman would come up, but you had to astrally project up there, right? And take the form of a hologram to speak to them, a bit like Princess Leia, right? When she's like sends out that message. But then it's like the purpose of this was to get a piece of information and then come back down. It's like, as that energy moves out, you have this piece of information, right? And it could be something like, again, with it being very Aquarius energy, again, it doesn't have to be the moon, it could also be Uranus, right, is Aquarius. I get Uranus and Neptune mixed up. It could be something to do with like the planet Uranus, and maybe that's coming very close to Earth or something like that. But Aquarius is associated with advancements in technology and you know, progression and things like this, and innovation. So it does feel like it could be, that's part of the message, right, to receive, because there's stuff about crystals as well. So it's like, this is how technology is going to advance. This is how, you know, perhaps these aliens, again, it's very out there, take it or leave it. Again, it could be something someone's watching, but the way these aliens are like helping us is to, because it's like they want to communicate with us, and they can communicate better with us if they do things like, you know, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 5G, you know, and astrally projecting with holograms. I don't know, it's like, it's going to help us to communicate better with them or something like that. Again, take it or leave it. It's very tinfoil hat. I'm aware of that. I sound crazy when I say these things, but it's what's coming through. So it could be that's, you know, maybe even investments, invest in holographic technology, something like this. So yeah, so you have this laser beam and it goes through a mirror, and the mirror seems to be standing out to me as well. Because mirrors can represent this our place and their place, a bit like Alice through the looking glass, right? Like the upside down, if you like, something like that. But you put it through an angled mirror, and this mirror is not fully reflective. It's kind of like, it's backed in silver, but only thinly. So half the light can pass through this way and half the light refracts down this way. And I feel like a physics teacher. I was like, I didn't know any of this myself when I first looked it up. So I'm like, and now I'm trying to explain it to you. So this beam of light that's been refracted into two by this mirror that's kind of like only a partial mirror. It's like partially transparent, partial reflective, and then it's like, oh, it'd be like that, wouldn't it? So half the laser goes through and then half the laser goes boom, like that. And then so it then passes, this laser will pass through another mirror, and actually, well, this one just kind of like is consistent, right? So the one that comes down and across and ends up on the image, on the lens, is just a constant beam of light. It's just a single constant beam of light. And then it's something to do with how fast light travels, right? Especially when light travels around an object. So for example, like an apple. So as the light hits the apple, it's like the light that goes past it, or the light at the edges kind of goes past it faster than the light that kind of has to go around, or something like that. I don't quite fully understand that bit, but it's like the object itself changes the speed that the light can pass through. So when the two lasers meet back again on the lens that is you know, creating the picture, something to do with the timing of the light creates the flat part of the image and then like the 3D image. So the actual shape of the object is imprinted onto the glass or the metal that you're creating that hologram on. So for example, metal, it might be like on a credit card or on a banknote. You might have a metal hologram. Glass, you know, can be used for decoration, jewelry, paintings, necklaces, that kind of thing. So different purposes that you use holograms for currently. And then what was really, really fascinating to me was that, I'm sorry, I don't know why you come in here, you're like, can you do me a tarot card reading? And I'm like, yes, but it's a story time reading and they want me to talk about holograms. You know, it's like mental. So it's going to come full circle though, guys, listen. So then the really, really unique and interesting thing, which ties into some of my other readings, is that if you have a hologram, say you've got a glass hologram and you break it into tiny, tiny pieces, you can look at one of those tiny pieces and still see the entire hologram. It's like each piece contains the whole image. So a little bit maybe like a Horcrux or something, but it's just fascinating to me because it really ties in with Aquarius's reading. Again, talking about Aquarian energy quite a lot in Leo's reading and in your reading now. So perhaps this is something that you're particularly affected by because of that Aquarian full moon that we've just had, the Sturgeon moon. But Aquarius in their reading had this thing about creating a image, and the way that they were doing it, rather than, it was like a jigsaw, right? So rather than creating taking a whole image and breaking it up into parts like how you would normally create a jigsaw, Aquarius seemed to be creating the entire image through individual pieces, and it kind of came through like the old TV show catchphrase where all the information was in one piece, right? It was like everything else was blank and all the information was contained in one square, which was very fascinating to me. But it was coming together perfectly. It's like everything was slotting together in a very, very kind of like expertly crafted way. And now there seems to be a message in your reading with this idea of every single fragment contains the whole picture. So you see the tie-in. And again, I knew nothing about this when I first got the message about holograms. So I don't quite know how that applies to you. It could be very metaphorical. So again, take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. Maybe it's just something to be aware of. But I didn't understand this. I was like, how is that possible? How, you know, mentally, like my brain is like, I don't understand how you can have an image and it's like the image is contained in a piece of an image, but it's also the whole image. It messed with my head. So then I clicked on the link that was in this article to learn more about it, which took me to another article. And the image that they used to complement the words that kind of explained how this was possible, which I still don't understand, quite frankly. But the image that they used was a chess piece on a red image. Guys, who's psychic? Your bitch is psychic. So yeah, no, it was really, really fascinating to me. That was like, oh my God. And I was like, I kind of stopped what I was doing. I was like, oh my God, really dramatically. And I ran over to my daughter and I said, look, I've just clicked on this website and look at my notes. Like, that is exactly what I was getting through. It was like, it's a chess piece. And it was like, not even any chess piece. It was the knight, right, which is the horse's head. I was like, I can't believe that came full circle. So I loved it. It freaked me out, and I'm very proud of myself, my psychic powers. They're very on and off though. Sometimes, like, it makes no sense to me. I'm like, I don't know why, I don't know what this information is, but here you go. It's going to make some sense to someone out there at some point. The name of the person who was kind of the physicist who he got, I think he got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know if he won, or a Nobel Prize. He was called Gabor, right? Like the actress Gabor, and he did a lot of stuff in like the mid 90s to do with holographic technology. And it sounds like what they're trying to do now is figure out how to create moving images. So rather than having a still hologram, how do we create moving images? So that seems to be something, again, maybe this is something somebody wants to invest in or something. And then what made me think of Cappy's reading was I read something about if you have a hologram, the eyes will literally follow you around the room, right? I don't know, they had this thing about a deer's eyes, like, you know, like having a deer up on the wall, but it's like glass eyes following you around the room. So I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. Take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. But I was fascinated, absolutely fascinated by your reading. And then your actual reading itself is very interesting, kind of tying in with Libra and Scorpio a bit. And I do find that, you know, that all the kind of readings talk to each other, especially if I'm doing Storytime readings. It's like they roll into each other. But you seem to have a bit of a parallel, I'd say, with Leo, Aquarius, Libra, Scorpio. So again, you could be dealing with people with those placements, maybe not. But so your reading starts with and Scorpio, kind of Libra into Scorpio had this whole thing about kind of like Romeo and Juliet type plays, you know, like lovers and tragedy and I defy you stars and all this kind of stuff, which is coming through in your reading as well. So here, this Seven of Earth, and Seven of Earth kind of talks to me, like the literal meaning of Seven of Earth is things take time, right? So it's like it's kind of got a message of like you reap what you sow, but also, you know, things take time to bear fruit. So if you are planting seeds of some kind of situation, you know, you've got to wait for some time for that plant to grow and for those plants to bear fruit. So it's like there's always a time and a place, and sometimes you have to be very patient. But the imagery of this card always talks to me about, it's like these two, because if you look at the way he's longing for her, it's like these are some kind of like friends or soulmates or colleagues, or there's a connection between these two energies, right? A bit like the Two of Cups. However, he's got something to do and he's being turned away. So it's like now is not the time. Can you see, it always looks to me like a lion's paw or something. It's like he's being taken away. Now in your reading, just because of this song that comes through to verify something later in the reading, Love in a Hurricane, Plain Dangerous by Blue Shore, which actually came through for, I feel like it was Leo. So again, maybe check out Leo's reading, especially with the lion's paw, you're getting quite a bit of that. But Love in a Hurricane. So in that song, she's actually getting arrested. So it could even be someone's been arrested for something. You've got something coming through about who's in authority, who has authority, who's in control, right? So it could be that you've got some kind of legal issue going on where somebody's been arrested unfairly, or, you know, there's something going on where it's like some kind of authority that is leading this person away. Like it's not the time, right? You cannot be with this person now, or something like that. Again, very kind of like Romeo and Juliet. It doesn't have to be romantic, but that kind of thing of like, you know, they're fighting against these two families that kind of like run everything, right? So it's like they control the police, at that point, the thing that I was channeling in Libra's reading, where it's like, I defy you, stars, the Leonardo DiCaprio depiction of that, he's, literally kind of running from the police at that point. So it's almost like getting arrested, being pulled away, some kind of authority saying now is not the time. And then fascinatingly, it's actually followed by trust the timing, right? So there's this thing about timing up here. Now, similar to what was going on with Libra and Scorpio, it did feel like there was a group of people basically who were, it was coming through like maybe Libra was this child and they were drawing something in, but Scorpio came in with this energy of like this almost coven or group that was saying, almost sending away the other energy. So again, it's like maybe attracting a soulmate, but the authority sent them away is the way it was coming through. Take it or leave it, right? I know it's a big story. These readings are just big stories. So you seem to have the same kind of thing. It's like now is not the time, and the council is here. So it seems to be this this authority that's saying, this is, we're going to separate you two in a way, or this person's getting arrested, or this person has a job to do, something like that. So it's almost like I was getting kind of like birds flying different directions as well. It comes out again back here, which is by Imagine Dragons. And it's funny, as I say Imagine Dragons, I'm going to talk about the Dragon Horde, so protecting the future. So again, in Scorpio's reading, it was coming through as a very parental energy of protecting children. So there's an element of that with you as well, where it's like there is an attempt to protect children, or protect the future of the planet, or to protect something that is coming, but it's going to take time to develop or grow, right? It's not time yet, which is hearkening, that's a very interesting word, hearkening back to the kind of, I feel like it was around Taurus, Aries, Taurus, maybe had this whole thing about holding something back because it wasn't the right time, right? It's like holding in a big change because it wasn't the right time, which is absolutely coming in your reading as well. You feel like you're a bit of a culmination of all my readings so far this period, this set. And then they're also holding these keys, which again give me this feeling of like a jailer, right? So also the number 12 is coming through. You've got a lot of repeating cards and repeating patterns in this reading. So number 12, you've got here, you've got here. So it could be a very significant number for you. Is this 12 as well? That's 33. So there's definitely 3 12s. I'm just looking for where the other one is. 26. This is 12. This is 12 and this is 12. There you go. 1, 2, 3 12s. So maybe you're seeing 12, 12, maybe seeing a lot of ones and twos, number patterns like binary code or something like that. Again, that kind of Aquarian alien energy comes through as very technological. So, and of course, Sagittarius, some of you are born in December as well, the 12th month. So do take that if it's relevant and leave it if it's not. You've got 11 here too, because you're November, December, right? I think. So, yeah, could just be birthdays, right? But there's definitely something going on with the numbers. And again, with that idea of like contacting the aliens and like doing it through mathematics, that kind of makes me think of, this is a negative example, but I don't think it's not coming through to me like it's negative, right? But in Independence Day, they, famously try to communicate with the aliens through mathematics and through patterns, because it's a universal language, right? Physics, mathematics, it's a universal language. It's telling me Latin, which is funny because Libra was getting a lot of Latin. Now, I don't think aliens are going to speak Latin, but I think the reason why they're giving it to me is, if you look at biology and science, they use Latin to give plants and animals their kind of like their names, right? Their official scientific names are always in Latin, as a kind of a universal language. The language of science is Latin, so could be something about that in there. Okay, so protecting the future, Dragon's Hoard. So this clarity, it could just be talking about, again, timing. It's like pass the time away by dreaming, or, relax, or, information coming to you while you sleep, or having a higher perspective, having a higher view, with it being the mountain. It's kind of the imagery as well. It's kind of making me think about some of the readings. I feel like Cancer had this thing about the girl in the white dress and like the child. And it's kind of like this Sleeping Beauty energy that's been permeating the readings has kind of grown up. Interesting to me about this Sleeping Beauty analogy that's been coming through. It came through really strongly in Scorpio's reading yesterday with Once Upon a Dream by Maleficent. And of course, Maleficent was trying to protect the princess, right? She was trying to protect Sleeping Beauty, if you go and watch the films. And then I finished the reading and I went on Twitter, and apparently, I can't even remember who the celebrities were, but some celebrities have called the daughter Briar Rose, which is Sleeping Beauty's name, right? And it was just funny to me, like how I keep seeing these coincidences. Is it coincidences? Is it divine symmetry? I don't know. But yeah, it's like the little girl, right? The Sleeping Beauty, the Sleeping Princess has now grown up, which again ties back into some of the earlier readings. Again, it could be Aries or Taurus, where there was a change that was being held back until some children grew to be teenagers. It's like we need this person to have a sense of maturity before we can allow this change to come through. So it could just be talking about preparedness. So yeah, trust the timing. Trust the wave that you came in on time is not running out. Now this is interesting with the way that the cards have fallen. And again, just to show you my method if you're not familiar with it. So I have all these like mega decks. I've got 6 piles of cards, and each deck of cards is a mix of others. So I've actually got 11 decks that I'm using to do these readings. And I just shuffle until cards come out, and then I take whatever cards have come out from all the decks all at once, scoop them all up, reshuffle, and then this gives me the order of the reading and the story. And so sometimes you find wonderful parallels where, the 7th of Earth, which has a literal meaning of trust the timing, is verified by the following card, which is trust the timing. So the trust the wave that you came in on time is not running out. So it's like there's a perfect time for everything. Okay, trust the timing. The universe knows best. Divine timing is not the same as human timing, but obviously divine timing has that kind of clarity of the higher perspective. We're kind of like down on earth. We don't always see quite how the whole machine of our lives is going to, like, how everything exactly is going to slot into place. They're showing me, did you ever have those little toys when you were a kid where it's like, again, oh my god, the puzzle pieces again, it's like going back to that analogy of like the different pieces of an image. But if you ever had one of those little plastic toys where it's like you have to shuffle the tiles around to get them in the right order so you can see the image. I'm quite good at that, actually. I developed quite a good logical technique of shifting those around. I kind of have the urge to do one now. But yeah, it's like they can see everything, right? They can see the whole. It's funny, it's coming through as Aquarius, right? They have the higher perspective of all the pieces, and it's like the universe has to kind of slot everything into place before the image becomes clear to, like, the divine plan comes clear to us mortals here on earth. So I love that analogy. Yeah, so but it has this feeling, as soon as I saw this card, I had this feeling of like people coming together, right? People all being perhaps moved by the universe like chess pieces on a chessboard into position. It's like everybody's kind of being brought closer to a center ground, because, and as I thought that, this was verified by the council, which came out here, right? The council, it's like, again, it could be something about ancestral meeting places, like standing stones like Stonehenge and things like this. But it's also coming in with gathering around, the power of community. Now, this seems to have a feeling of, and I really love it. I really, really like this. So do you remember here how I was saying it's like somebody's been arrested? It's kind of giving me, you know, sometimes abuses of power. You know, sometimes people can get into power. They can, you know, politicians control the police force and things like this. You know, sometimes people get arrested wrongly, right? And sometimes it takes the community. They're giving me a specific example, which I'll give you in a second. Sometimes it takes the community to come together to kind of do some police work, or to prove something, to help this person. So the examples that they've been giving me, the original example they gave me was like Black Lives Matter. You know, sometimes, you know, police can be discriminatory, and it takes a community to raise awareness of this. It's also talking to me, the example they gave me was, I think he was called Stephen. So there's quite a famous case of a guy in America who got wrongly accused because basically the local police force just took a disliking to him, and how it took, you know, like these kind of like criminal investigation or murder squad type podcasts, and the community who engage in those podcasts to take, you know, to find more evidence and to say, look, you know, this case needs looking at again, because you know, we think that there's a miscarriage of justice. We think it was this other guy. So that's a really famous case. So it feels like it could be something like that, or just this case of like something being unfair, or, you know, the general populace disagreeing with something. It's happening in Europe at the moment with energy prices. You know, energy prices are going up, you know, ridiculously, and, you know, people can't pay it. They just can't, you know. So a huge, like, the majority of the population is saying, look, you know, the government, the politicians have failed in their duty of care. They have a duty of care to look out for our best interests, and they haven't done that, and they've put us in a really difficult position. So, you know, therefore maybe enough of the population get together, you know, we can make some changes or force the government's hand in a way. So it does have this feeling of, in a very Aquarian way. Of course, Aquarius follows Capricorn. Capricorn is known as a very by the book sign, and Aquarius is a very innovative, community-based sign. You know, the power of community is actually very, very powerful, and that seems to be happening here in a wonderful way. And I'm not one for, like, you know, toppling governments or overthrowing things, but, you know, when the people who are meant to represent us, and who have that duty of care to serve us, right? If you think about the police, it's to protect and to serve is the kind of the tagline of the police force. These are civil servants. Politicians, police, they're civil servants. They are our representatives, and they are meant to look out for our best interests. And if it becomes something that is corrupted and tyrannical, and they have not fulfilled their duty of protecting and serving the community, then they have to be held accountable, and there have to be changes, is the way it's coming through. Now, again, I know that I'm talking about specific examples, but this is a collective message. So the way that's actually playing through for you, or playing through in different people's lives, could be very different. So I am not saying, I'm not promoting anyone do anything. I'm not advocating for anything, any side, right? I'm literally reading the collective energy. This is stuff that people are thinking about. So it feels like they're telling me now, for some of you, they're telling me class action lawsuit. Now, I am not 100% on legal terms, but I do believe class action lawsuit is when a case is filed on behalf of multiple people. So there could be something like that happening as well. And I want to say the reason why this is going to be successful, like it's just absolutely like immersed in love. It's like this is kind of coming through with a very Venus-like energy, which you kind of end the reading with over here with this beauty card, which came through for Libra. It's kind of very motherly. So you've got the love, right? Hadrian energy, codependency, and boundaries. So it could be talking about it's coming through very feminine, but it doesn't have to be feminine, right? It's take it as it applies. But if you think about sometimes political systems and governments can be very patriarchal. These systems are historically patriarchal, especially in the West. And this seems to be mothers and daughters and coming together to make changes because they're doing it from the heart, right? Like literally she's got her hand over her heart, kind of giving me Kylie again, put your hand on your heart and tell me. It's like this is something that they are motivated to do because of love, and this is why it's going to be successful, because you know, love conquers all. So it's the highest power, right? To me, if you want to talk about God, and obviously everybody believes different things, but to me, God, creation energy, the universe energy is pure unconditional love. That's the purest energy there is. And it does feel like this is what this group is it's like the battery, right, that's fueling this group is love. So whatever they're doing, the changes they're making are because they care, right, which is a very, very high vibrational energy to do anything in. I've also been watching I think it's called the Most Hated Man on the Internet. I didn't really know anything, but I was such a pleb, right? But the Most Hated Man on the Internet, where, you know, this guy is just being a dick. He's a young guy, he's being a dick, and he's basically being very destructive, and he's very, very misogynistic, and really being not just women, but his site is very, you know, like particularly derogatory and mean to women and their bodies and things like this. And I won't go into it too much, but you can go and watch it if you want. But then this woman and she's called Charlotte as well, which I love, because like one of my kind of guides kind of comes through with the name Charlotte quite often. This woman called Charlotte Laws, and I'm not going to say the guy's name because we don't give a shit about him, right? But this woman, this fabulous woman called Charlotte Laws, who was a mother, and her daughter was basically objectified by this site. And she was like, I'm having none of this. So she was contacting lawyers, his lawyer, her own lawyers. She was contacting the FBI. She was creating her own case. She was contacting the victims. She put together an entire case file. She did her own research. So this mother, gathered around all these people, right? All this evidence, all this, you know, she used everything at her disposal, all her resources to not to attack this guy, but to stop him from doing any more harm. I find you, Nancy, from doing harm, that kind of business. Maybe it is like a very witchy energy. I feel like that's the spillover from Scorpio's reading. Being a particularly witchy sign, right? In a good way. So it's all those are just examples of how this reading is presenting itself with and it's got this energy of like people waiting to hear what's going to happen next. So I'll come to that in a second because I've got a couple of cards to mention. This Spirit Guardian of Summer came through in reverse. I'm not quite sure why it's in reverse. It does say expansion on it, but it feels like maybe with it being in reverse, it could be the opposite of expansion, where it's contraction. So again, there's this coming together energy, gathering around. So it feels like calling in your resources or calling in your network, right? So like this kind of like gather around energy, come and listen to what I need to say, or come and have this meeting. We need to have a discussion about this. It could also be something about, it could also just be saying like, you know, as we pass through summer, again, if you're in the northern hemisphere at the moment, as we pass through summer, you know, we're getting ready to go into autumn. I've been going around and kind of went for a walk today, and there was conkers and acorns and things that were, you know, on the trees, kind of starting to fall, or really ripening. So I feel like we're getting into that harvest time. And then there's another thing coming through that I'm seeing in the cards where it's like draw on, because you've got ancestry here. And so trees to me are symbolic of the future and the past. The roots of a tree normally talk to me about your ancestry, where you came from, what nourished you. And then the branches of the tree talk about your own expansion, your own growth, and you know, your own fruitfulness, what lies ahead for you in your future, or your own children perhaps as well. So in the reverse, it's again with this protecting the future, there's something with that I'm not quite getting, right? So it's like it's definitely something about family, right? It's like ancestors protecting the future in some sort of way, because you have ancestry here. And then like the fruits are the children, right? Like the fruits are the future, and it could be talking about collective future, collective like future generations. And then the dragons are kind of like the parents who are currently coming together to protect children or future generations, something like that. Or even the planet, you know, protecting the planet for future generations, which more, you know, we really need to have a talk about that. So this could even be something like you know, the big meetings that they have where like world leaders go and they talk about environmental issues. It could even be something like that. Now there's this double mission: light worker, starseed, serve the world by being you. So this really, Sagittarius, for you on a personal level, this is really just saying be yourself. Like be honest with yourself about what you care about, you know, what motivates you, what you want to change, what you can accept and what you can't accept, you know, and just be very authentic about that, because the world needs more authenticity. I was thinking before something about humans are pack animals, right? So humans are basically, because of how we're hardwired from, like, you know, caveman times, to be part of a group, to be part of a family, to be part of a community, because that is a protective way to be, where, you know, we can support each other. It's like, you guys do the farming, we'll do the hunting, you look after the kids. It's like everybody has roles in that which benefit the group, right, which benefit the hive. Naturally, humans, we want to be part of the group. So our brains are very, very pliable, and what we can do even subconsciously is the more we are around certain ideas or certain opinions or certain beliefs or traditions, the more we're likely to parrot those ourselves, because it's a natural, a very understandable and very natural herd mentality, or herd, it's the way we're wired, right? We're meant to do that. We're meant to agree with the group, and convince ourselves that we agree with the group, because it's a safety mechanism. However, you don't innovate if all you're doing is parroting what's come before. So sometimes you need to be authentic. Sometimes you need to stand out from the crowd. Sometimes you need to speak up and have a voice and be heard, because funny I'm saying herd, because, you know, herd animals, right, as well, because we need to say that something's wrong. And this is why, going back to that website that I was talking about, this is why it became, you know, it had a certain amount of success, because people wanted to praise the leader, right? They wanted to join the group. They wanted to be noticed. They wanted to be accepted. They didn't want to be on the outside, because being on the outside of that group meant that you would be attacked. So definitely something to do with, like, it takes a very brave person, like Charlotte Laws. I feel like I can't say her name enough. It takes a very brave person to actually stand up and say, this isn't right, this isn't acceptable. I'm going against the group. I am going against the crowd, right? It puts you in a vulnerable position. So but there is a need for this. There is a need for, I mean, there's lots of different examples that this can come through. And to say as well, I kind of, you know, I can sympathize to an extent, where I can understand how certain things happen, you know, how certain people are drawn into perhaps low vibrational groups, because you know, people have the need to belong. This is how, I did a training with kids and gangs at schools, you know, how to recognize the signs that a kid may be getting groomed to join a gang. And one of the things that they do is they give them this sense of belonging. You belong to this gang, you belong to this group, because a lot of the time the children that are you know, who do this feel like they don't belong. They don't belong in society, or they don't belong in the school system, or they don't belong in their own family. And the gang gives them an identity. So I feel like there's something like that coming through, where I feel like you're particularly good at remaining authentic and not allowing yourself to get pulled into negative group dynamics. But with this double mission as well, I really feel like you and somebody else, it's like this Two of Cups energy, right? You and this soulmate, you and this friend, you and this person, you have missions here on earth that you have to fulfill. Again, with this thing about it's not the right timing, it's like you want to be together, but you have your own stuff to do separately first. You have your own mission. Now, Libra did come through with this idea of like being, Libra and Scorpio had this thing about warrior woman, your mission here on earth, right? So I'm hearing like spaceman stuff, so I heard in a very kind of NASA type voice, like mission fulfilled, and ground control to Major Tom. So I'm getting so sweaty. It's really warm in the UK. Would you, a thunderstorm? I think probably by tomorrow we're gonna have a big thunderstorm and the temperature is gonna drop, and I'm like, thank you, world. So what seems to be happening is there seems to be a leader of this group. They are coming through as very matriarchal or very protective, like feminine protection, like a mother figure, right? Grandmother, mother, nature goddess kind of energy, who seems to be, again, this almost like a representative of this group. If this was like the protector of Earth, she's the representative of the humans in a way. And it feels like this person is going to this these higher authorities, right, to speak to them, to consult with them. It's like she is the face of the group, is the way it's coming through, just with these kind of cards. So it could be that this person is going speaking to, I don't know, a lawyer, or you know, a politician, a local councillor. You know, they're a representative to go and speak to the police, or you know, whatever that authority is. But what I'm feeling more strongly is that because of Leo's reading, there's some kind of cooperation between the powers that be, the authority, right, the establishment, which is coming through with the Emperor energy of that Leo reading, and the whoever this female represents, right, where there's some kind of collaboration, there's a mutual benefit to cooperating. In Leo's reading, it came through with because they both resided in the same space, so it's like they both live on the same planet, if you want to say. So the authority figure of the Emperor, it was like he owned the land, right? This was his hunting ground, this was his space. And the female priestess energy, it was like, but this is her home, you know, she's the protectress of the populace, the animals that live within the realm itself. So again, there was this mutual benefit to them both protecting, agreeing, even though they were very different, perhaps one's vegetarian, one's a meat eater, but they were agreeing to protect this this home, this space, this land. So again, it could be protecting Earth. But the High Priestess was the one that was perhaps because she was more spiritual, she was the one who was better placed to know how to, I don't know, astrally project, to speak to this third energy that was coming through as this almost like alien energy or starman energy. So she was kind of through meditation or through prayer, because if you look at these two cards, really looking like maybe asking for help, you know, God, aliens, you know, ancestors, we need help on this planet, we need to be shown what to do, we need knowledge, we need guidance. So it seems to be this meditation or prayer energy of this. It could be the whole council, right? It could be a prayer group, it could be a church group, it could be you know, any kind of group where it's like, right, let's take this moment to to pay our respects or to ask for help. It feels like asking for help, with it being a magic prayer. And then it's like this energy, this priestess seems to be coming back with this sovereignty, right? It's like she knows her power is the way it's coming through. So even though she may be dealing with politicians or police or emperor energy, right, CEOs, she doesn't feel less than. She feels equivalent. And in fact, after she has prayed or, you know, asked for guidance, she actually comes back to the room or the situation with a huge amount of authority. Now it's reminding me a little bit of I think it was Virgo's reading over here. They had this very Libran energy that was a symbol of like a court situation, but it was the person making the decision. She was weighing up all the evidence and making a decision, and it has that same energy to it. But it's like I have been in consultation with the higher energies and I have made my decision. So it very much feels like everybody waiting for her to speak, waiting for her to say what this decision is going to be. And the question seems to be, are we going to accept this or are we going to make a change? And it's like, to me, it's like she's the one holding the cards, right? She's the one who has the sovereignty of this moon energy, right? Because again, it's like she was contacting this moon. I don't know how that plays out. Again, it could just be something that's going on in like popular culture. It may be a TV show that's very popular. Maybe there's some kind of sci-fi show where this kind of storyline's playing out. So take it as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. But she seems to be coming back down to this coyote, right? And the way it's looking at me is like they're looking at each other. So the coyote to me is part of the group looking expectantly at this woman, and it's as though he's saying, is she going to throw the ball, right? Is she going to throw the ball for me? There's an expectation of waiting here with this energy. I want to say she does throw the ball, which I'm going to kind of come to in a minute. But yeah, it's like the power is in her hands. She's the one making this decision. Do we change or do we accept? It's kind of like, you know, the prayer as well, the serenity prayer, you know, God grant me the knowledge to know. I always get it wrong. I get mixed up with words really easily. Like, grant me the knowledge to know what I can change, what I can accept, and, you know, the knowledge to know the difference between that. And it seems to be that kind of thing. So I'm actually going to pause here and actually read this coyote card. Very interesting card. I want to say as well, I noticed Santaro, I kind of like half watch all the readings. I noticed this has been coming up for Santaro a lot, so if you are looking for another reader, Santaro, definitely recommend. The essence. The coyote is the symbol of the sacred trickster, right? And I want to say as well, the moon can symbolize illusion, and the hologram as well, this idea of like something not being quite as it seems to be coming through in your reading. The coyote is the symbol of the sacred trickster, the one who provides detours for growth and understanding by ensuring that things don't go as planned. So this interesting thing about things not going as planned. I think there may be a bit of a tower moment. But you're coming through with this kind of chaos is a ladder energy, so just be aware of that. It's like it's not happening to you, it's happening for you, because chaos creates opportunity. So if you're very innovative and you're very creative, you'll see the opportunities where other people are just panicking, basically is the way it's coming through. It's teaching you a lesson, or it's not in a negative way, in an opportunity way. It's like there's a lesson to be learned from this. Like the coyote gives you what you need. So the coyote brings the energy of divine deception. So divine deception, interesting concept, right? To set you free from the shackles of that which does not serve you. Sometimes it appears that you will get everything you want, only to find that the coyote brings you the opposite of what you hoped for. The lessons offered by coyote may at first appear confusing, but they are most sacred and always for your highest good. So I am getting things about like handcuffs and like you know, being arrested or something like this, because I had it over there and then it's coming through here as well. You can see kind of like she's shackled by the wrist, and then it actually says divine deception will set you free from the shackles of that which does not serve you. The invitation, if coyote calls to you, it's time to pay special attention to detours and disappointments, as they are true tests of faith. You have set your intentions and turned them over to the Great Spirit with this magic prayer energy, right? Yet you may find yourself lost and confused when it appears that you're being led off course, off the path leading to your most cherished dreams and desires. Remember this, Coyote is a sacred trickster and may be leading you into challenges to ensure that you are ready to handle what you have set in motion. Great growth and understanding come to you when Coyote calls your name. So it does appear that a change is set into motion. With this kind of wind energy, it's like, here comes the change, right? It's like you're tied to this change, or there's no avoiding this change. And it seems to be, there seems to be, I'm going to come back to that. I'll finish reading this first. Are you being seduced by what you think you desire? Could it be that the more superficial, sparkly, shiny aspects of your ambition led you to this moment? Perhaps you feel like in order to get what you desire, you have to compromise yourself, control others, or manipulate situations to ensure your goal is met. Coyote howls in the shadows to remind you that this lesson may be too painful to learn. Beware the shallow waters right now. Something or someone might pretend to be deep, but that doesn't make them so. So they're showing me the hologram again. No matter how seductive their superficial traits and how beautiful or sparkly they appear, all that glitters there will not turn to gold, no matter how many wishes you make to change that. So it feels a bit like redirection is God's protection, right? So this idea of being separated from perhaps somebody that you feel is a soulmate or a fated partner or just a friend or something is really coming through here with this energy of acceptance. It seems to be like the decree is, you know, you are going to be separated, or the decree is you know, you are being taken onto different paths. Now, what's really interesting to me, it's like, are they coming together or are they separating? This seems to be the question. Again, it could be some kind of court situation, you know, where it's like, maybe it's like a divorce proceedings or something, like, or somebody gets the final say, do these people stay together or do they separate? It could be like, you know, like Princess Diana, and this kind of came through in one of my readings where I was talking about, you know, Charles basically being in love with Camilla, but the royal court said, no, you need to marry somebody more suitable. So he married Diana, didn't really love her in the same way. You know, kind of his heart belonged to Camilla. But it wasn't really up to him. It wasn't entirely his choice, right? It's like the queen and the royal court, the royal advisors, you know, had a say in a man's life. So again, that kind of very Romeo and Juliet energy of like, you know, there's other people involved in your decisions. So it could be that this sovereignty could literally be like some sort of queen who's saying, yes, you can marry who you want to, or you know you have to marry this other person, like a separation. It's making me think of, well, you know, just talking about that kind of like social conditioning and kind of cultish behavior. There's another Netflix documentary called, I think it's like Eat, Pray, Love, Repeat. And there was a very, very religious factor in Libra's reading, where I remember there were two children and they really were like, you know, this kind of soulmate energy. They really loved each other. They had a very, very healthy, sweet relationship. And yet because of the way this religious cult operated, you know, they were intentionally kept separate, because it's like, no, we decide who you marry, we decide whose wife you're going to be. It's funny, I've been talking about Henry VIII as well, you know, very similar thing where you know, other people interfered in the marriages. You know, Henry's marriage to Catherine of Aragon, for example, was an arranged marriage. She was meant to marry his older brother, and his older brother passed away, and Henry as a young boy was convinced to you know, step up and marry this queen. It's like, oh, the marriage is already arranged, we'll just get the other brother to marry her. You know, of course, didn't really love her. I think he was a Pisces. I think he kind of like convinced himself that I don't know if he was a Pisces, but it gives me that kind of energy, because he wanted to be a knight, right? He really cared about like old-fashioned chivalry and things like that when he was a kid. And then he kind of like, I believe there's a really famous historian, what's his name, David something, and he's his documentary about Henry VIII and his 6 wives. He's you know, he's got quite a empathetic view of Henry, and where he's saying like, you know, really he thought he was doing the right thing, right? He thought he was doing the chivalric chivalry-ish thing where, you know, stepping up and saying, look, I'll marry her, I'll be the king, you know, it's what I'm supposed to do, you know. And then as he got older, obviously he realized he liked other people, and like it became a big hot mess, and you know, but he was a young child, right? And there was a whole he lost his parents, right? And there was a whole gang of courtiers who and political advisors who obviously had their own schemes and things going on. So, you know, the whole system was a hot mess. And I feel like there's something here about the whole system is a mess, right? There has to be a change. The system is no longer appropriate, is no longer fit for purpose. So again, how this plays out, it could be on a very collective level in terms of like the way we do politics in the West, or it could be a very personal level where it's like literally just, you know, maybe the system at work, the computer system with the ones and zeros is just not fit for purpose anymore. It's like things have progressed, things have changed, the technology hasn't caught up. So there's a lot of ways that these kind of metaphors can actually apply to people's personal readings or personal lives. But yeah, it seems like you have separate missions, right? Double missions, you have separate paths to take. Birds fly in different directions. Scorpio yesterday, who had a very, very soulmatey reading, I was even talking about twin flames and stuff in their reading, they were going north, and you seem to be going south. It's like adventure's taking you this direction. By the way, this is the first card that came out when I started to shuffle cards. So I'd already got the intuitive message. This was the first card that I saw when the cards fell out, and I was like, oh my god, it's like photography, lasers. This thing about how, you know, how your actual brain sees in 3D is because you've got two eyes. So your brain takes these two images, right, from your two eyes to your two retinas and puts them together to create the 3D image in your brain. It's really clever, like how your brain constructs the image. So like the two lights, the two, again, this thing about like to create the hologram you have to have two separate lights. Maybe that's it. Maybe I've just cracked it. And it's kind of an astronaut as well with the space theme. It's like a camera, it's an astronaut. It's like, it really was symbolic of what I was seeing. So maybe, okay, with this idea of the two people being separate to get some kind of, because it's just thinking about Scorpio's reading where these two energies were separated and how there's a higher authority that wants to see through both lenses, right? So it's like, it's important to keep these two separate because it's like they're both acting as a way to collect information, or as a way to, it's like this is how they see the whole, is because these two are, it's like you take the image from one and you take the image from the other and you put them together and you see the whole apple is the way it's coming through. That's a very interesting concept. Okay, interesting. So it benefits them, right? It benefits them to keep them separate. Like, look at the triangle as well. Look at the triangle. It's the pyramids, guys. I'm not saying it's the Illuminati, but maybe it's the Illuminati. And then it's like, yeah, it's like the person at the top and then the two person. It's like it has to be triangular. It has to be triangular to get the whole picture. That's a curious concept. Right, okay, so, but it feels like, again, it could be like there's time has passed, right? So there's maybe people are getting impatient because Libra's reading had this I defy you stars, right? I defy you. Like Libra was literally like taking on God in their reading. It was like, you know, this manifestation of this higher energy that was angered, like Zeus or something, right? It's like it was coming in and Libra was like, oh, I defy you. It's very cool. So it feels like, what is the decision? What is the decision? Are you going to accept this decision? Or are you going to use, perhaps, again, if this is some kind of alien, it's like maybe all the humans are coming together to defy it, right? Or I don't know. I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything. I'm literally reading cards. It could be a movie. I don't know, right? It's just storytelling. Like, I would never actually tell anyone to incite any kind of, right, okay. So the decision the fallout of this reading is being made very, very clear. I say fallout because look at these cards that are surrounding this darkness. Darkness, and look what surrounds it. Change. 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 So considering we've got 3 cards about change and an acceptance that you don't seem to be able to accept, there seems to be some kind of change coming. I don't know what to say. Chaos is a ladder, right? It feels like when this change occurs, there's a moment of darkness. There's a moment where, I don't know, you think, have I made the wrong decision? Is it all going to go wrong? I don't know what I'm facing here. Is this an illusion? But it's like, as you take a few steps down that path, just look at this. Like Briar Rose, right? Briar makes me think of rabbits. I don't know if that's a real thing. It's like you can't see, right? It's like the if the moon was like a lens or something, if the moon was like something that could be flipped over, it's like you're only on one side of it. So the light's on the other side, right? So there's something about you can't see anything. You can't see, you've made a change, you've walked out that door, you know, the open road is there ahead of you, but you've got some fear because I don't know, like this massive change is going on, and and again, that thing about holding back the change, it's like the change cannot be held back any longer. It's here, is the way it's coming through. If you think about Aries and Taurus's reading, Aries had it's coming, it's time. So it's time for a change. And yet there's this unsurety, but it's like as you take a few steps up that path, as you move forward, and it could be like one step at a time, right, into the unknown, it's like all of a sudden everyone's around you, like your ancestors are around you. It's like almost like a surprise party, right? It's like all you had to do, it's like some kind of test of faith, right? All you have to do is take a few steps in the right direction, and then your ancestors are there. Is the way it's coming through, because it's like, especially like, so this card and this card, it's like, you know, they pop up, it's like surprise, you know, something like that. It's like, it looks like they're not there, but the idea of them not being there is the illusion. They've actually been there the whole time, is the way it's coming through. This is Pisces energy for me. And then here and here, so if you look at the background of this path, it's like you walk a few steps, and then suddenly it's like the village comes into sight. It's like there's the village, you know. It's like, it's not an illusion. It's not the illusion is that there's nothing there, and there's like a whole tribe there waiting to meet you. And so there's this beautiful thing coming in these cards here with dragonfly spirit. It's interesting, you've got dragon's hoard over here, and then dragonfly over here. So dragonflies, I saw a couple of dragonflies the other day actually. It could be particularly symbolic for you. Now the metaphor of the dragonfly actually means change, evolution, not evolution, it's funny that I should say that, metamorphosis. The dragonfly for me comes from and the lotus flowers, so both of these have lotus flowers on, so very similar symbology. They come from quite swampy waters. They tend to come from quite so if this was a person, it could be somebody who comes from quite a difficult background, perhaps, you know, like telling me Cinderella, my namesake, you know, like maybe not a great family, or not saying that about my family, by the way, but, you know, like a situation where wherever they came from, whatever their past was, it was a bit of a swampy past. And yet the lotus flower and dragonfly tell us that you can still bloom and you can still be very beautiful, because the wood nymph is literally beauty. So it's really, it's like talking about finding home, finding the people who are authentic like you are. So I feel like, although I don't know if you're going to come into contact with a soulmate or not, but it's like whatever test of faith the universe seems to be presenting you with, where they are throwing you into some sort of change here, where I feel like you have to adapt, like the chameleon, right? So this is very Libra. Libra had these 2 cards. Again, I put them in separately, like these 2 cards have come out together for you, and they were in Libra's reading, and they are from 2 different, not only 2 different decks, but 2 different piles, right? And yet they've still managed to come out together again here. So chameleon for Libra energy, just beauty and Libra, is not right, okay, go and watch their reading if you want more on that. But the message that comes through in their readings is, and again, it applies to everybody, right? We've all got 12 houses in our birth chart. All the planets like move around our birth chart. They move around the sky. We're all affected by all the energies of the zodiac all the time, right? Sometimes it's just more strongly affected by one than another. So it could be that you have some Libran energy in your chart that's kind of really playing into your favor right now. But it's like it feels a bit like Rise of the Feminine as well, like remembering the benefits of Venus energy, not denying femininity or undermining it, or seeing it as a weakness anymore. It's a strength, right? You wouldn't tell the goddess Venus that she was weak, for example, if you know anything about classical mythology. So, and like the woman as well, like that Charlotte, that kind of mother figure who was like an absolute like fire, you know, she actually absolutely was like, I cannot accept this. She was exactly that energy. I cannot accept this. You know, when the FBI didn't take her seriously at first, I cannot accept this. What else can I do? What can I, you know, how can I change my methods? How can I, like, she would not back down. And so it's that, the force of the wrong mother, right? The force of the panther, of that kind of, you know, the powerful panther of like mother energy, who's like, don't mess with my cubs. You know, you don't want to mess with that kind of energy because it's motivated by love, which is incredibly powerful, right? So it's like remembering the strength of that. So the chameleon talks about change in terms of adaptability to different environments, and camouflage as well, and beauty. So there's something really interesting happening. Excuse me a minute, I'm just going to get a drink of water. Just as I stop to get a drink of water, there could be something about illusion of beauty and the ability to disguise with beauty. So they were showing me Mystique. I don't know if you know the character out of X-Men, Mystique, who her kind of natural form is kind of like this blue lizard, but she has the ability to transform into anyone. And just thinking about the dragonfly and the kind of like glitteriness of the wings and the kind of attractiveness of that, and all that glitters is not gold. There could be something about the changeability of beauty, or you know how women apply makeup in different ways. You can literally resculpt your face with makeup, you know, so if you've got a wonky nose, you can correct it with clever makeup techniques. So it could be actually talking about something to do with, because I'm getting a little bit of stuff about infiltration, so it could be something about spies. You know, change your hair, change your glasses, change your makeup, you look like a completely different person. So there could be something about that as well, just because the song that came through to confirm the change, I said, what is this change? What's going on? What's the change? And it gave me Love in a Hurricane, Playing Dangerous by Blue Shore, with the line Love in a Hurricane. And I was thinking that's really curious, this idea of like, again, that kind of the tempestuousness of Romeo and Juliet, with like, I defy these stars, and you know, the weather and everything. Like, it's like in that, the chaos of making change, the chaos of, I don't know, changing the way people do things. It causes this moment of absolute chaos, and yet it's like finding love in that. So the story is like the girl's getting arrested and she falls in love with the police officer, or at least she pretends to, and he lets her go. So there could be something in that. But then there's also, and I want to say, there's something about the role of the police officer that I'm going to come to as well in a second, because I kind of asked, what's the conclusion? Where is this going? And they gave me National Anthem by Lana Del Rey. Curiously enough, Blue Shore, this song, Playing Dangerous, is a Lana Del Rey song, and yet you've got the Blue Shore version. So it's like, it's the same woman, right? It's the same energy behind those two songs. They're both Lana Del Rey. Maybe Lana Del Rey has like some kind of alter ego, right? You know, like Sia, she's like releasing albums and records, but it's like she wears a wig and like sings a bit differently. Or like, you know how J.K. Rowling was writing under different pen names. There could be something like that. But it's like, National Anthem by Lana Del Rey. I love it so much because it's almost like she plays naive. She plays the damsel in distress a little bit in both of those songs, in order to gain access to some sort of upper echelons, she calls it, right, doesn't she? The upper echelons. So you know, the high society and things like this. And funnily enough, that lady who I was talking about, that Charlotte, I've forgotten her name now. I've got a really bad memory. The lady Charlotte who was talking about earlier, she actually had wrote a book because she used to do this. She didn't believe in the idea of VIP access, and she was like, there's no area that's off limits. You can get in anywhere that you want. There's always a way. You just have to change your methods, which was fascinating to me. So it's like getting access to things. Yeah, it's a very curious coincidence. So getting access, like the girl as well, like I don't know, maybe somebody's just binging Netflix documentaries, but there's the girl as well, Inventing Anna, where again she's like, she reinvents herself as this heiress in order to I don't know, access all these different things. So it's like maybe beauty as access, right? Beauty lets you get close to the president of the United States. Like, look at his wife, right? She's a beauty queen. So that's really curious. So I wonder if there's going to be something in the news where somebody's infiltrated a very official infrastructure, you know, like a politics or monarchy, or you know, the police force, the powers that be. Somebody's got into some kind of place of authority because of their beauty, but actually I feel like they're gonna make some changes. Interesting, really interesting. I can't wait to see how this plays out, because my readings always play out in some sort of way, whether, you know, I end up watching something and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I was channeling, or, you know, something happens in the news. But yeah, National Anthem, she really switcheroos it. So she starts out in that song with this kind of like little baby, like, oh, I don't know how yet. You know, I don't know how to be cool. Excuse me a second. So, forgot what I was saying now. And then, yeah, so she switches from this kind of naive, I don't know how to be cool, into this very empowered woman. And she's like, I'm your national anthem. I'm going to hold your body like a python. You know, like, tell me I'm your national anthem. So she really switches it around. And he says, you know, instead of, I don't know how yet, she changes the line to, don't you know who you're dealing with? And I love it. So it's this real empowerment. Was it Libra? One of the readings this week with the thumbnail was entitled I'm made in your image, right? So it's like, I am what you made me. So it's like, if society turns you into a little baby doll who needs rescuing, and if it's like, this is how you gain access, this is how you get successful, you have to play this role. So a clever woman is going to be like, okay, I'll play that role. You know, it's very, very chameleon. Okay, I'll play that role. I'll be the damsel in distress. I'll be the little baby girl. But when I get where I want to go, then I hold all the power. So it's pretty cool. I really like your reading, Sagittarius. Girl power. Yeah, I don't know. It could just be because I watched 6 and it's coming through with this energy, but it's here in the cards, right, repeatedly. So yeah, I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know if it's going to affect you on a personal level. I don't know if it's going to be stuff that you're witnessing in the news or collective consciousness. But I really enjoyed this reading, so thank you very much, Sagittarius. Looking forward to seeing how this continues to play out. Yeah, but I love that. You know, if you can't accept it, change it. And who better to do it than a Sagittarius, because you're very empowered. And again, I want to just say, you know, this is not a gendered reading. You know, everybody's welcome here. You know, I'm not a man hater. There's some men that I like a bit too much. You know, there's some great guys out there. And, you know, there's, like with any group on earth, there's high vibrational people and there's low vibrational people. And if you're a high vibrational person, or you're a low vibrational person but you're doing the work, right, you're trying to improve, then you're good in my book. Yeah, I think we're all just souls in flesh suits who are trying to figure out life, right, at the end of the day. And you know, everybody's welcome in my readings, and hopefully we'll improve as a collective. We'll improve as a group of humans on this earth, and be nicer to each other and all stuff like that. All right, peace out. Do take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, friends. Hey guys, so I'm just about to upload the video and I just remembered something I forgot to say. So with those two songs, National Anthem, and obviously National Anthem is talking about a political system, and the song about the police officer falling in love with the girl. I feel like we could be finding the examples, again, this could be various examples in the collective of people who are working for some kind of civic system who decide that love is a more powerful energy than serving, you know. So it's like, who do I want to serve? Really makes me think of maybe this is because I'm going into Capricorn's energy next. They get a lot of like Roman culture and history, but if you think about the poet Ovid was talking about he rejected the cursus honorum, which was the military pathway, the military career of a educated Roman male, in favour of being a poet of love and romance and women and sex and beauty. And he was a very tongue-in-cheek poet, and he actually often compared military service to the service of love. So it's like, what do you honor? What do you hold in high regard? And I do feel like we could be finding people are less inclined to follow the narrative and more inclined to, you know, to follow the civic pathways and to really follow the heart. And I think that's a healthy thing for people to do, you know, not just be yes men, but to be a little rebellious when the heart rules the head, right? Because I do think that if you connect to that God energy, if you connect to the highest power for me, the biggest energy, the most powerful energy for me will always be love. And not only love, but unconditional love or God love. And when you're quiet and when you meditate and when you connect to your heart and really trust the messages that speak to your heart, I feel like that's God talking to you. And I think that the heart is a greater voice than you know, somebody in a uniform telling you what to do. So again, I'm not saying that we should overthrow anything, but maybe we just look at our systems and we look at, you know, the way we run our countries and the procedures and the rules and things around that, and we say, is this really fit for purpose? Is this really working as well as it could be? Let's not throw the whole thing out of the window, but maybe let's just look at making a few little adjustments here and there. Maybe we'll you know, revise a few laws and really get this thing up and running in a way that benefits more people. So that's my very Libran, let's do this in a calm, reasonable, balanced way advice at the end of the reading there. But I did want to just kind of get that up and out there as well. So yes, take care, bye bye, peace out, bye.